different blades, beveling some, in this case it's some chrome tanned leather. Just trying to knock the corner off on the flesh side in a fairly smooth way. And this string is pretty bright. Got my glasses here. Just trying to figure out which blade works best for this leather. I haven't decided yet. You can tell where the temper changes and it's a little soft. Where it's going around the corner. Because it gets all wiggly. Yeah, I think the more rigid blade is a little better. Somebody commented. Thought the rigid blade is the best. I mean, it's kind of hard to say. See how it's kind of chopping? And that is swirling around, but it's cutting straight. It just looks weird on the offcut. And when it's softer, it tends to try and chatter like that, which is not as nice. It's really annoying. In some ways, as long as it's cutting, the little single edge flexible blades are sharper. But I agree, the rigid ones are generally better. Trying to get the best of both worlds. Let's see, that single edge blade with a little bit of a back bolster is so much sharper. glad you like your danger noodle. Those are fun little whips. This is a pretty awesome tool. They're not a sponsor or anything, but the company's name is Y-Knot. They sell a lot of lace and some tools. Spelled Y-Knot. This is their combination beveler tool. It's a pretty cool tool. The reason the offcut is a little sketchy and different widths is because this is what I call rough cut lace that I'm beveling. It hasn't been sized, but I'm beveling it to size it. And so every time we go around a corner, there's a big piece. Or every place it's a little softer. fun but dangerous trick. Take advantage of the sharpness of the tiny blade. Try and back it with another blade before it bends up. Single edge razor, sharp as can be. A scalpel bit is useful too, but It's like cutting wood. The green will walk. Then it'll run out. If you hold on to the offcut and the string, it helps it cut smoother. If the offcut has a little bit of the skin, like a 32nd inch of the skin side, it doesn't necessarily break off. And it does cut smoother. Just resizing and beveling at the same time, playing around with different blades. This is some chrome tanned leather. It's kind of pretty, but it's a chrome, so it's not as stable to cut through as the veg is. But I'm resizing this string as I pull it through as best I can. And this is rough cut lace, so the width of the lace varies a little bit. As I cut this by hand with, an Aussie tool. If anybody has any questions, I'll try and answer them as I go. Trying to get a fresh edge. I'm going to unmute it here in case somebody has questions, and I'll try and answer them if you type in the comments. I'm just a few subscribers short of 1,000. If anybody's kind enough to hit the subscribe or whatever. I've been trying to share what I do with the leather working. I've been playing with different blades to try and figure out what's the best for. This is chrome tanned leather, so it's pretty soft. And so far the single edge razor seems to be the sharpest thing that works. I'm taking this all from a single string I stripped up an entire hide into one string. I didn't make the string very wide, so this is about 6 millimeters. I'm trying to get 4.5 or 5 millimeters beveled out of one continuous string, just so I can keep it on a spool for when I need this color. Trying to keep the tension just right to have it cut smoothly is a bit of a trick. Getting down to the last 60 or 70 foot of this string. So far, backing this with the stiffer part to help hold it in place seems to be a more successful idea than most things I've come up with. But I don't care what somebody suggests for what blade to use. I want to figure out what blade works for what temper the best. It's hard to beat a single edge razor blade though. These are Derby single edge. And it's popping because the tension's too light. Welcome to chrome tanned leather. It's going to get much wigglier because this is getting towards the center of the hide where it was a smaller and smaller oval. Every time you go around a corner, that Aussie strander gets a little wider. Try bending it down and see if it likes me better. Not really. Blade is going to do what it darn well pleases, no matter what I ask it to do. Okay. Yeah. It's getting soft. Down in the bucket it went. There's the end. The end of the string. Now you just feed it in the other way. Keep your fingers out of the blade. Okay. I'm going to knock it in just a touch so it's easier to. When working barefoot around razor blades, make sure you pick up your scraps because they'll let you know that you forgot about it. Beveling is thickness dependent. Thickness depends on tension and variance in the hides. Don't try and catch falling razor blades either. All you have to do is touch these things wrong and they'll bite you. Let's see. What's the point of beveled string? Well, so beveling the string allows for your braiding to be smoother. So this is beveled cowhide that's been braided into a keychain. So beveling the string allows the inner sections to lock down and be super smooth. I don't know if I can get any closer than that, especially with it bouncing. Maybe I can zoom in. You can see how smooth beveled lace lays when you braid it or plait it. And so what I'm doing with this string is I'm beveling it so that when I go to braid, everything is smooth as glass. It's that's a keychain I make called a keychain quirt. That one's a serpent's tongue. It has 2 tails. Yeah, it fits a lot better. And the more time you spend prepping your string before you start braiding, the better the end result is going to be. And so if you prep the string before you start, you can't have the outcome be as perfect as I want it to be without the input, the string being as perfect as possible. So wish I wasn't a perfectionist. I could just cut the lace and braid it. That keychain, by the way, was hand beveled before I got this tool. It's 4 years old, been in my pocket for 4 years. It's amazing how when you get the blade in the right place and it's sharp and it's flexing and it's cutting through the string, how much nicer it glides through. And then when you're fighting it, it tells you basically need the blade to be sharp. So move it. And there's probably 300 or 400 foot of string here off of one hide. That's a single piece. So it lets me sit and do one of these videos. But you'll see it's easier to get a single string to come off once it's cutting, because we made it so much more consistent by knocking it back and beveling it on the outside of the bumps the first pass. Is it perfect? No. You shoot for perfection and aim small, miss small, as they say. Aim for the moon, and if you miss by 20 yards, you got a good chance. Do I do both sides? Yes. So this string is already beveled on the back side here, and I flipped it around, so now I'm beveling the second side. Do I do both sides? You mean front and back? No, I want the skin side to be out and none of the white to be showing in the braid. So it keeps the flesh side from showing in your work, or hopefully does. Hopefully you don't accidentally fold a strand or something. But having a spool of already beveled string is really kind of a nicety. It means you can pull 15 yards off, 20 yards, check it for defects, and make something without having to cut it out of a hide or even bevel it. On rawhide, you take off the top corners instead of the flesh side. You're taking off the skin side. This is a chrome tanned leather, so if it was a veg tan, it would be more like this. Now this is beveled veg tan. It's been wet stretched, so it's a darker color because it was wet and it was compacted and then pulled through. There's a video of me making a spool of that somewhere on YouTube on this channel. When you have an area that's a little bit on the small side, you can come in manually and change the angle of attack, and then bring it back when you get past the narrow spot. That happens because as you're pulling it, it has a tendency to neck down and get smaller. Trying to keep the worm the same size. See, it stopped beveling there, so force it to bevel. More tension, and guide it back into the slot. Keep that offcut pretty even because we already trued it up. I have some non-fancy tool ways of doing the same thing. You can just use a razor blade in a hotel room card or ID card to bevel a strand of leather. Do a pretty good job after you practice it long enough. But it's hard to get the exact results I want. So that it's just the fastest way to get a clean edge is to cut it with a pair of scissors on a single edge Derby razor blade. Doesn't have to be Derby name brand. But it's nice to have a nice sharp blade. I do a lot of things I don't really recommend others do. Practice it if you want to, and take the risk of being around blades. Anytime you work with open blades, you will get cut. But you can mitigate the risks. It's about as good as you can do. There isn't any better tool for cutting small lace in my estimation, but other people may have different opinions. Thank you. We're just beveling some chrome tan to put on a spool, so several hundred foot of chrome tanned leather. It's very pretty. It's a hot pink. It's blacklight reactive. Think about making a guitar strap. What do you guys think about me making a guitar strap? Probably be one of the coolest guitar straps ever. That sounds like a fun idea. So this tool is called a Y-Knot. And see if I can show you the side of it. Yeah, it's kind of hard in this light. Anyway, it's called a Y-Knot. Little company. I think out of Montana sells it. It's a combination beveler. So this is the straight edge, the straight cutter for resizer. This is the 30-degree beveler. And then there's a 45-degree beveler head. So you just pull the screw on the back and change it. Oh yeah, no worries. It's about $230 tool. It's pretty cool. It's probably the best bang for your buck that you're ever going to spend on a beveling tool. I can feel the lace change diameter here. There's an art form to using even this tool, because the art is in how much tension and how fast you pull it and how sharp you keep the blade and keeping the right amount of tension. And it's all a balancing act. But you get the hang of it. I make this look probably easier than it is, but it's still, you can learn it too. Make a lot of things look easier than it probably is. Braiding whips and stuff. Okay, so I'm going to try something. I'm going to bend the blade down, just see what it does. Because it bent up. And I think I just need to trim it off again. No, there it goes. It's okay. Yeah, thank you for subscribing. If you subscribed, this Chuck with Pocket Snakes. Whip maker out of Arizona. I try and share what I do. I make all sorts of whips, not just pocket snakes, but when I started, I made little snaky keychain whips that fit in your pocket. I try and share my methods, because just mastering these methods will help your breeding. And why not share with the world? Let people improve their craft. It costs me nothing to set and shoot videos when I'm cutting lace. It might mean the world to somebody. Okay, so that's just getting dull. Do as I say, don't do as I do, but you can clip these in order to get a fresh surface. Not the smartest thing to do, because it is a single-edged razor blade. But when they're thin like paper, you can actually just cut them with a pair of scissors. It's a useful discovery. It's useful to know if you have a tool like this. You can use any blade you want. I use scalpel blades for most things, but coming back to where right about there is where I left off. I backed it up a ways to pull it through. It's amazing how much better it cuts with a fresh blade. Fresh section of blade. A window into the pro workshop. Sort of, yeah. Hey. Hi, Benny. Hey, I just enjoy sharing. I love talking to other whip makers. I don't know too many of them. There's not hardly anybody else in Arizona, but there's people watching from all over the world. You know, I get people from South America and Germany, and I'm shocked anybody is super interested, but if I wasn't super interested, I certainly wouldn't do it. I find it soothing braiding and making string and cutting lace, whatever you want to call it. I find that whole process very soothing. I'm going to push that blade down. This seems stupid, but I might be able to get it to catch a little better. This is an area where I cut it down a little bit too thin, but I'm still going to bevel it as accurately as I can. Now I'm freehanding this at this point. It's not riding against the fence because this area was a little too shy. So this is like 4.2 millimeter or something like that. I wonder how close I am. Might be 4.5. It's 4.8. So I'm off a little bit. 4.8, 4.6 millimeter. Little under a quarter inch. Shooting for roughly a quarter inch. 6 millimeter, 6.2, something like that was where I started. What am I making? Well, maybe a guitar strap. This is hot pink. I thought it might make a fun guitar strap for somebody. This hot pink. And I've got plenty of black. Hold on for a second. I have got a pile of leather here. I don't know about you guys, but I hate spam callers. I always try and mute it because how long have I been on? Probably an hour. I probably got about half an hour because I got about half this string to finish. Yeah. I see I got too far and I'm not staying focused. Sorry, guys. When you're doing stuff, it's nice to cut and bevel your lace so that you can just start a project and reach up and grab like a spool, grab a string from a spool of, just like you would paracord, a color that you like. It's amazing, a little bit move the blade a 32nd of an inch and it cuts beautifully again. Back it up. Back to where I started, or back to where I ended. Sorry about the phone call. Somebody just called and yeah, I'm recording with one cell phone, which has a cracked screen, my old cell phone. And I have my cell phone, but I have people that call about whips or they call for help, ask questions about all sorts of stuff. And so my rule of thumb is I'm never too busy to answer the phone when people call. Back this up. Maybe raise it up a little bit. Yeah, maybe not. I'm going to try and get a little better. Yeah, I wish I thought I was funny. But get the focus back. I'm not a very good cameraman, but you can see there's a little gotcha here in the lace before. So you can flip it around, put that section in. You can come in and narrow it up. And make it more uniform. Don't try this at home, kids, right? Anytime you have little gotchas, you're going to have gotchas. It's a natural material. Nothing is ever quite as perfect as you want it. Yeah, it does take some time. It saves me time adjusting it if I go back and catch all the little bumps. This started off as rough cut lace. When I call it rough cut, it was like 7 millimeters, 6.2 to 7.4 millimeters as you went around corners. So there's some spots where the hide, stretching it through and cutting it necked down because it got dry stretched. There's some places where the string's a little inconsistent. The goal is really just to cut it as close to contiguous as I can. Oh, I don't know. Would you guys like to see? So I've got about 100 foot here on the floor and about 250 foot that I'm coming from. So makes a 5-inch spool, about 4 inches wide when I'm done, but it's all one piece of lace cut out of a single hide. I have a few videos on doing that too. I just am obsessed with trying to get the string as consistent as I can and have spools like this. So this is not quite as much hide, but this is all beveled. It's a little bit wider than this string, but that's a 5-inch spool. This is one piece. It's about 300 foot long, roughly. And I hank smaller sections. This is a 150 foot hank of Vegetown cowhide I did the other day. It's one piece. I don't know. People find it interesting. I'm happy to show people how you go about doing stuff. Maybe it's useful. Maybe you'll come up with a better way to do this stuff. If you do, please share. Let me know how to go about faster and better and cleaner if you can do it. Or if you find a better razor blade. And yes, I'm barefoot. Yeah, veg is possible to do. So you want to see a little strip of veg. Here's a strip of veg tan. This is rough cut. So you can just take a strip of veg and you can there's about 3 foot, 2.5, 3 foot strip. Now, veg doesn't want to, it wants to bend the blade, but you can do veg with this. Then you can put it back in. Now, the blade is now bent because this piece of blade is the veg tan. It doesn't like this blade for veg tan. I like a scalpel with the veg tan. But put it in. And this is like 4-ounce veg. Then you can just cut it off. You can put it in the other way. Found a weak spot. But so you can see the spine on a piece of veg. So this is the same width as what I'm making basically, but in veg. I don't know. We make a lot of scraps, that's why there's a scrap bucket. See how the scalpel does just for laughs. Usually it does okay. It just, I was using the scalpel tends to chatter more because you have to use a little more tension with it. And if you pull both pieces, you can get it to chatter less. But it's got to be an actual very sharp scalpel blade. This is a number 11 scalpel. This is cutting more of the backside off than I want. So I'm going to open it up a little bit. That's closer to where I want it. I like the number 11 scalpel blades in this tool. But they do chatter more than the derby blades. But you can cut faster with them, so. And you can see it's cutting about a 32nd of the skin side of the bevel. So you want a little bit of skin side going away when you're trying to do this because you want the strength so you can grab both the offcut and the other, and it reduces chattering. It's kind of a weird trick. Okay. So now this one's getting a little bit dull. Remember what I showed you with the other. So you can unlock this. You can see the little piece of fluff that was jamming up the tip. You can grab the very tip and you can put it underneath. Grab the tip and just snap it off. That's a useful trick to know to get a fresh, clean surface so you don't have to throw the whole blade away. You can't use a pair of scissors on the scalpel though. You have to snap it off. Okay. I didn't extend enough scalpel. Or maybe I did, but it was... You have to have enough to cut through the flesh side. Or you'd be driven nuts by the inconsistency. Always check the offcut and make sure it's got a little bead. So right now that's about a, I don't know, 64th or so of skin. The rest of it's all flesh side. Is this for wiring? No, this is cutting leather lace to braid into whips and other things. So the reason you bevel it is so that you can lay the, when you braid it together, it makes it super smooth and it lays more like snakeskin. But it makes a keychain that's pretty fun. Couple tails. You can look at the underside, and these are beveled into triangles, just like what I'm doing. It makes everything lay beautifully. But it's not for wiring. I suppose you could probably trim some wires with it. That's probably a little too much zoom. So there was chatter on the other side. So let's thin it down a touch. Take down the chatter. Flip it back around. Now it looks like I'm taking off a lot, but there's just there's a 64th of the skin side peeled away, but the rest of it's a big triangle. So it looks like I'm cutting way more than I am. So I'm not losing much width, I'm just beveling it. The other thing you can do is you can come back and trim up the the chatter with a pair of scissors to make it less bumpy. But yeah, I don't know how many people are watching. There's a few people, 250 or so. If you like what I'm doing and sharing, please consider subscribing so that you can get notified when I do go live. But also because I've only got like maybe 1,000, just under 1,000 subscribers. So I've decided to do more live stuff because I was uploading the whole video unedited anyway, so why not just do it live, and then I'll also post the video. And again, if you look at this, it's just got a 64th of an inch or so of the colorful side being removed. It's just enough to keep it in line and hold the string together. Otherwise it curls and buckles and chatters. That's probably the most useful thing I've said today about this. We're getting down to the last 75 foot or so. And I haven't accidentally cut the string in half, which is kind of good. Beveling some chrome tan leather to use for some breeding projects. I cut an entire hide into a single strip, and then put it on a spool and brought it over to this tool. And this video and this live stream has been me taking that long strip, and first I beveled the outside of this strip over here on the outside, and then beveling the inside. Don't let a knot come through and pull your fingers into the blade. Thank you for all the likes. I appreciate you guys. I'm just sharing what I do and how to go about beveling stuff with some tools. I have videos on how to just use a razor blade and a credit card. And if you're not doing a long 300-foot piece of string, that method works great, and you don't have to buy any tools. You just need a razor blade and a credit card, or pocket knife and a credit card. Hotel room card, piece of plastic, piece of leather. So now we're getting to where this leather has some surface issues that pop the surface grain, because the very outside. But it held together so far, so that's kind of good. So if I decide to make a guitar strap, I'll put it on live. I was thinking this hot pink might make a real neat guitar strap, hot pink and black. Somebody would think it was cool. Now I'm down to the last 15 foot. Down to the last 3 foot. Yeah, sorry, it's Scandal Feeney breathing on the mic, but I have to be right next to the thing. If I breathe through my nose, it's not much better. Oh. So, one nice thing when you make a pile of lace, as long as you don't mess with it, it's fairly straightforward to spool back up. So this is a 5-inch spool. Then you want to kind of center it a little bit. Once you get it centered, you can hand tighten it a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to spool this. So this is kind of to show you it's one piece of lace. Wow, that lace gets hot. Had it on a caster. Kind of center it a little bit better. Less wobbly. There's one complete skin turned into a piece of string that's beveled. The beginning of this didn't bevel. So one trick is to use needle nose. Pinch it. See it go to where it's beveled. So the beginning of that didn't catch the blade. I don't know exactly how many feet or how many meters this is. One of these, which is that size, is about 75 meters. So it's 75 meters versus quite a few more. A few hundred feet. Black light active. Hot pink. Leather string. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to take a break. If you would hit the like, hit the subscribe if you get a chance. I appreciate the subscriptions and people interested in what I do. And set cut lace and turn it into string. I'm going to make some black string here that I'm going to bevel some of this black string down so that it matches the size of that string. So I'm going to re-bevel this string down to that size, just to make sure it's the same size all the way down. It looks like it's pretty close to the same size. I don't think anybody's going to care the difference between those two strings. Going to make a lot of leather string scraps. You would have to ask the manufacturer if they're OSHA approved. So there's probably 80 meters or so on that spool. Corgi hair and all. So, but maybe I'll make a guitar strap. It sounds like a fun project somebody was suggesting. But so you can untighten the top adjustment up here, and there's a nut that drives. There's a thumb screw that runs all the way through this. It attaches to the base. If you want to cut straight lace, just resize string, you put it on there like so. Now you can resize it. Now you can resize it if you screw that down. Or if you're beveling, you want a 45-degree bevel. This is the 45-degree beveling attachment. But I mostly use the 30. Every once in a while you gotta clean the leather dust out of the guide. One thing I can tell you about this tool is it's safer than beveling by hand. And if you ever see me spinning Kevlar, that's a commercial spool of Kevlar yarn for making crackers. It's 40-pound Kevlar. But you can wet stretch some string, and you can see how polished this string kind of is from just working it and compacting it with water. And this is just string of veg tan. You can see how triangular-ish it is. That's got a 30-degree bevel on both sides. But sorry about the breathing on the mic, because the mic happens to be the cell phone. And my mic is 2 inches from my face, so just breathing will do it. But here's an example of something you can do easily. So this is a beginning of a bracelet type of thing. Or you can make bracelet. So this is a Turk's head that's been pineappled with a steel ball bearing. And then the two colors of each strand come out the bottom and are braided over a mandrel. And then there's a string that the string is then braided on down and folded through itself. But one example of things you can do with the braided lace. You see the end of this has you see the beveled string. I don't know. So anyway, this Chuck with Pocket Snakes. Thank you for tuning in. I'm gonna come back in a bit. It's been an hour and 40 minutes. I'm gonna take a break because my hands are starting to bug me. You guys have a wonderful day. I'll be back at some point, probably not later this evening, but tomorrow the next day while you guys are at Thanksgiving. Have a happy Thanksgiving.